Many people understand how AI can help their business with providing the right answers. The problem is one, they don't know how to set up an agent that has access to the right information. Information that comes from emails, documents, website content, PDFs, and everything else that makes their business what it actually is. The information that makes it their own, right? What they end up with is information that is generic, that doesn't really speak at all about what it is that they do. But that all changes today, because in this video, I want to show you exactly how to set up a database where you can upload all kinds of different information, where you can update it if the documents, if the contents of them change. And I'll show you how to do it directly within NA10 and Superbase. And for this project, I chose Superbase for one specific reason. You can create vector databases in other databases and other platforms. There's Pinecone, which is another super popular one. But with Superbase, there is an additional, or I mean, there are many benefits, but one of the biggest ones is that you are not only limited to a vector database. You are also, or you also have the ability to create a relational database, which is the, let's call it the traditional way of storing information. So you get the best out of both worlds. In addition, there's also another benefit. You're able to use Postgres, which is what Superbase is built on, in order to get even more benefits within one single package. So I'm very excited about this. I'm starting it from the very beginning, setting up a new Superbase account. So I'll show you exactly what you need to do in order to set all this up. Then we'll be using NA10 to send information to our database, to query information, and to see whether the results that we get are the results that we want. So pretty excited about this one. Before we dive into this video, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you don't want to miss future ones. And with that said, let's get right into it. So over here, this is the plan for this video. We want to set up a Superbase vector database and an NA10 workflow in minutes so we can connect our data sources and get the foundation running with simple point and click setup. Then we want to start processing documents. So we upload a PDF and watch it chunk, embed, and store. And I'll get into all this in a few minutes once we get to the stage. Then we want to build the intelligent agent that will allow you to have a back and forth with it to get real answers to real questions and see the retrieval and generation in action. I want to add memory, so you'll be able to have a conversation back and forth with this agent. And then I'll show you how to delete files if you need to either delete files or even update them. So I'll show you a system that we can build using this. One thing that I might also get into right here, part 6, would be shortlisting database results to only choose the best ones. I can show you how to do that as well in NA10. So let's get right into this. As you can see here, I just registered for a new Superbase account, and I'm going to start literally from scratch so you can see the whole process from the very beginning. So I'm going to set up a new organization. Let's call this Kevin's organization. Free plan is fine. And let's just get right into this. So as far as I know, Superbase allows you to have 2 different accounts within one free account, right? Or 2 different databases, I should say, within that one account. What I'm going to do here is just off screen generate a password, and then I'll paste this in here. Right, perfect. So I have the database password, and it's important that you store the password somewhere because you will need it in order to connect to this. So API will be set up. Actually, this is the project. So let's see. So let's make a note of this. So this is the project password, and let's create a new project. All I know is that you will need the password in order to connect to your specific project. So yes, okay, cool. So yes, one project is the same as one database, and then within that you can have different, as far as I know, different tables. Yes, so you have the database and then you have the different tables within it. Perfect. So we are in our new project. That password we'll need to use in a second once we try to connect to it from NA10. So keep that somewhere safe. If we look at the plan, the first thing I want to do is set up a Superbase vector database so we can connect data sources within minutes, right? So that's the first thing. Let's set up the foundations. What I'm going to do is go to NA10 here. I'm going to start a new workflow. And let's call this the YouTube NA10 Superbase video. I'm going to trigger this manually for now. One thing to note is that you don't have to trigger it manually. There are many different ways how or in which situation or which situations this would get triggered. Whether it's on a timer. So in that case, you can use something like a schedule trigger right here. Whether there's an update in your CRM. So I don't know, there's an update in your HubSpot. Oh, I don't know, a contact was created or added and you want to store information about that. That can be a trigger. It can, we're looking at other triggers here. It can be on a form submission. So someone submits a form and that triggers the whole flow we're going to be building. On a chat message. So if you're just having a conversation with it, it doesn't just have to be in order to retrieve information. You can also start the whole workflow with a chat message. So all that to say, there are different ways how this can be triggered. In my case, I'm just going to delete everything. And for now, I'm just going to focus on the when I'm clicking execute workflow. So this will start the automation. Now, once we're here, what we want to do is literally connect to Superbase. So here, one thing to notice is that we have the Superbase and the Superbase vector store. In our case, we just want to use this. So let's go here and let's add documents to a vector store. Here it will ask you to connect to an account. So let me create a new credential and let's call this YouTube test. And here we need the host and the service role secret. So let's go back here, the logged in version. For the host, let's go to project settings, scroll down, and let me remember where that was. Database. Actually, let's just open the docs here. So to change your API key, go to project settings API, and then copy the URL from the project URL as the n8n host. Okay, so let's go to project settings API and let's enter that as the host. So choose our project, database API settings, great. And we have the URL right there. So let's copy that, place that in there. And for the service role secret, reveal and copy the project API key. So go to API keys and we have the service role secret. So I just copied that and I'm just going to paste this in here and I'm going to hit save. As you can see, this is connected successfully. So now obviously we don't have any databases right here. So we need to create that. So a quick way of getting to the right documentation is if we go to, I believe, AI agent and we try and connect that as a tool. So let's go to Superbase. I mean, we might have also seen it from Superbase. Yeah, probably this one, Superbase vector store. Because what I want to do is grab the SQL code that will allow me to create the right table in here. So if I go to database and then tables, I'll be able to see my vector database. But let's just go to n8n. Let's add the Superbase vector store and let me see, reg starter template. Not that one. n8n Superbase create vector database. Let's see. When I was setting this up, there was a way to grab the SQL code directly. So let me find that. All right, cool. So all we have to do is in the documentation we get over here from n8n, we go to Superbase vector store. And if we scroll down here, there is a quick start for setting up your vector store. So this takes you directly to Superbase's documentation. And here, there is the way to create this vector store in Superbase. So if we go to SQL editor right here, let's click there, let's run that, and let's see what happens. So this is running and creating a new vector database. So now if we go to databases and tables, we get this document right here. So this is great. So now, if we go back to n8n and click here, we get the documents table, right? Which is great, which is the table that we just created right now. If we look at other options here and we look at the query name, this must match the name of the table with a match underscore and then the name of your table right here. So if you were to create a database with a different name that wasn't called documents, then that would need to match this right here, right? So we can change the name of the table by changing all the instances of documents in here. So to change this, you would change that and that and that. And then you would also need to change the match underscore, whatever the name that you gave it. So that is super important. Now, if we go back to this right here, we can choose insert documents. So that is what we want. However, let's just not use this right here. Let's go here. We should have the documents table. Great. We have the embedding batch size. We can leave that as 200 for now. And then that matches right there. So let's go to embeddings. And this is where we'll need to use something like OpenAI in order to create the numbers that represent the data. And that is what embeddings are all about. If you had created a table, a vector database with a different dimension than the default one, so let's look here. The number of dimensions, the resulting output embeddings should have only supported text embedding tree and later models. Great. So when we create the database using this information right here, as you can see, this is created using 1536 as the number of dimensions. So we can choose that if we run into any issues. If you had changed that number, this is where you would change that to match the dimensions that you would have used. So that's the first part. We also need to give it the document that we want to actually update or upload into the Superbase vector store. So in my case, obviously, we need to add something right here where we need to insert a document. And just to organize this immediately, I'm going to go to my Google Drive. I'm going to create a new folder. Let's call this YouTube Superbase test. And then here, I'm going to create a new folder. And this will be called new folder. Let's call this to add. And then let's add another folder called added. And then let's add another folder called delete. And you'll see why I added these in a second. And thinking about it, let's also give this a better name. So this is number 1, this is number 2, and this is number 3. So essentially what I want to do is as soon as I drop something in the to add, this will trigger the automation to add a new piece of information to my Superbase vector store. Once that folder is added, or once that file is added, I should say, it gets moved to the added folder. If I wanted to delete something, I can just take something from the added folder and move it to the delete folder. And that will start another automation to keep the ball rolling. So in this case, we need to make a bit of a change right here. First of all, let's just test this and see that this is actually working. So let's just, for the sake of this example, set in some information and let's add some information. I don't know, let's go to Claude and let's just create a quick article about dog training. So we'll have some information to store just to ensure that the data is actually getting stored into Superbase. So this is writing that article. Cool. Copy, close, let's go here. Let's paste the whole thing in there. So now we got that article in here and I want to insert that into my Superbase. So I'm going to use the default data loader. And here we have two types of information that we can load into Superbase, the JSON and the binary. In this case, this is JSON, right? There is no binary data. Once we switch to downloading a Google document from Google Drive, this will need to change to a binary. But in this case, let's leave this as JSON. Let's choose load specific data and let's just drag and drop that right there. Over here, you can also choose how the chunking, how the text splitting actually occurs. By default, N8N did something where it's split every 1,000 characters with a 200 character overlap. So this ensures that when we are retrieving data, we are retrieving the right data. And if there is any overlap, we don't lose that data. So let's just leave this as simple. One thing I want to mention is this metadata, because this will become super important in a second. And this is essentially additional information to provide context around your uploaded document. In this case, we can say that the topic is equal to dogs. And again, this will become much more clear and much more handy in a second. So here, if I save and execute, let's see what happens. So we got no errors. This seems to have uploaded the document just fine. And it, as you can see, outputted 3 items. So that dog training article got split up over 3 different pieces. Which also means that if I just go back to my database, go to my tables, and let's reload this. So here we have the documents. And if I go to table editor under documents, you can see that we got the 3 items right there. We got the metadata, including the thing that we added. So by default, it adds a few items, right? So it added some line information in terms of location. It added source blob, it added type equal text plain, and we have the topic equals dogs. So if we wanted to retrieve this information and only get data about dogs in the future, this would be the way we would do it. And here we have the actual data, the actual article, right? So it starts with the title and that keeps going. One thing I want to point out is where this chunking occurs. So here we have the timing is crucial. Your dog needs to understand exactly which behavior earned. So that is where the first part cut off. If we look at the second part, let's see if we manage to, yeah, your dog needs to understand exactly which behavior earned the reward. Which behavior earned. So this is where the first part ended. And there is the overlap right here, right? And understand exactly which behavior earned the reward. So this is overlap. Same thing here. So here this ends with for leash pulling stop. And here we have for leash pulling stop. So this is overlap, which means that when we're searching through this, we get that overlap to ensure that no important information is cut off when we are retrieving information. So this is how we are inserting data into our database. And this should be pretty clear so far. What I want to do next is show you how to use the whole 3 pieces of information, 3 folder system that I mentioned right here in order to make this happen. So if we look back at the plan here, we've set up the Superbase vector database and then Nathan workflows. We connected your data source and we get the foundation running. So this is done. We uploaded a PDF, which we still haven't done. And this is what we need to do next. So we'll see how it will get automatically chunked, embedded, and stored. We've kind of done this already, just not with a PDF because we're using static data. So let's get right into this. So what I want to do is, what if we take the same doc training information, right? Let's take this. Let's go to docs.new. Let's create a new Google document. And let's actually convert it to HTML so it looks nice, or nicer, I guess. Copy this and let's do that. I mean, yeah, it's not the nicest, but let's go to Claude. And let's actually go to the chat. Let's pick that last one. Let's copy this so it has the nice formatting. And let's also create another one. Now create another one about cats. And let's call this the dog training manual. And then we also have a cat training manual. Cool. Copy. Let's create another document. And let's paste this in here. Awesome. So this is cat training. And let's download these as PDFs. So we got that. And we got the PDF there. Before I upload these to add folder, let's build in the logic in n8n. So now we're going to remove this because this will not be what will start the automation. And we can also remove this. So now what will start the automation would be the Google Drive trigger down here, which is on changes involving a specific folder, which I don't think you can see. So there is on changes involving a specific folder. And here we are connected with Google Drive. This is going to check whenever we ask it to. So by default, it's every minute. And the trigger will be changes involving a specific folder, which is what we want. We can choose by a folder from the list or by ID. In my case, I'm just going to go to by ID. I'm going to go to this right here. I'm just going to copy the folder ID from the address bar in there. Go back here, paste that, and then we can watch for pretty much anything. In my case, let's just leave it as default. I don't know if we can, yeah, we need to. So let's go to probably file updated, file updated, file created, folder created. I would say, yeah, let's do file created essentially, because it's PDFs. So yeah, let's do file created. So in this case, there's no data that was found, which is understandable. If we go to this right here, to add, and I grab my dog training manual, they uploaded here, and I go back to NA10 fetch test event. So for some reason, I'm still getting no data with the current filter could be found. All right. So is it file updated then? Okay, so nothing. Let's see, why is that? So let me confirm is the right ID. Oh no, it wasn't. Oh yeah, so maybe I was in a, I don't know, fetch test. Okay, so now I got one item. So maybe I was looking at the wrong file ID. So we got the information, we got the, let's see, dog training manual, great. And we got everything else over there. What we're interested in is essentially just the ID of that document, right? Because that is all we're interested in. Technically, we could also be interested in, I guess we could do it with the file ID. That's pretty much all we need. So here, once this triggers, because a new file has been uploaded, we want to download that file. So let's go to Drive. Let's go to download the file, and let's choose the ID of that file. So if I just scroll down, choose the ID, I can drag and drop that right there. And if I execute step, this should now download the dog training manual right here into my NA10. And if I hit download, this should open up that same PDF, which is great. So now, once we have this is outputting in a field or in a binary output called data, which is great, because we can now connect this to Superbase, and we can keep the same connection and settings we had before. So if I save and I go back to the default data loader, this is where we now switch from JSON to binary. The mode will be, load specific data, or all of it technically. Save it as all. Let's let it detect the MIME type automatically rather than us deciding here, because this also means that we can load pretty much different text files or PDF or JSON or documents or CSVs. So let's see if the default thing will actually work. For the metadata here, I don't want to say topic equals dogs by default. So here, let's just say, I could just take the first word of the file name if it's always like dog or cat or whatever. So for the sake of this example, let's just use that. So I'm going to drag the file name over there, which is, let's see, it was somewhere at the end, dog training manual.pdf. What I'm going to do is split this based on a space. So .split, which gives me an array of dog and training and manual.pdf. So there are 3 items in my array. And since dog is the first thing, I'm just going to use the, not filter, the dot first, which for some reason didn't work. So why not? So this should give me an array. Great. Dot split. Okay, let's split with a space. Okay, yep, cool. And then let's say dot first. So now this gives me dog. So now the metadata that I add to the dog PDF will be topic equals dog. And for cats, it will be topic equals cat, because I have the cat training set as the document title, right? So if I X out of this and now run this guy right here, we should be downloading the file and uploading it to our vector store. If I refresh this, I should get 6 pieces of information because I still had the information. Okay. So here, for some reason, we got a bit more essential, modern. Okay. Interesting. It's also interesting that here it went like it was from 1 to 1. I guess because it was a plain text piece of information. Over here, because it's a PDF, yeah, probably that's why we have some more information here, because PDFs, like they would add some additional data to it. But as you can see, we still get those pieces of information right here. And we get the embeddings right here, which are the numbers that represent the data. So in this case, let's just delete the first three, which are the ones that we had before. Let's delete that. And if we refresh, okay, it hasn't been fully deleted. 1, 2, 4, 6. Can we not delete the rows? Delete. I think we're good. 4, 5, 6, 7. Awesome. So now we have the title equals dog. If we were to just test the automation so far, so if we were to turn this on, right, this will now start checking every minute, just like we have there, which also means that if we look at the executions, let's see, the last execution was our own, right, where we uploaded the dog training. Great. So if we go here, then I'll put cat training. In a second, this should execute once more right here. And then, so it should be somewhere around 12:12 or 12:13. And then it should add the cat information to our vector database. Whilst waiting for that, what I want to do is one more thing. So with Google Drive, what I want to do is once we upload that to the vector, I want to move a file to another folder. So the file ID will be the same one that we downloaded, which is the original one from the Google Drive trigger. So you can just put that over here. The parent drive will be my drive, and the parent folder. Okay, so where is the destination folder? Is that what this means? Potentially. So what I want to do is just move this to the folder that is called added, which has this ID. So I'm just going to copy this and remove the / at the beginning there, go back to NA10 and just choose that right there. So hit save, look at executions. So this executed at 12:14, probably the cat document. Let's see here. Yep, I see cat training here. So if I go back to my Superbase and refresh, we should get some cat information right here. Awesome. So here we have title equals cat training. So the metadata is showing us that this is about cat training. And we have the dog training from the beginning. If I look back at edit, I mean, I don't assume that we managed to get this in here now before it was implemented. So what I'm going to do is just, let's delete all this information. Great. Let's go to add and delete this. And let's re-edit from scratch. So what I'm hoping is that once I upload these here, in less than a minute or so, this will understand that there were new files added. It will download them, upload them to Superbase, and then move them to the second folder, which is the edit folder. And like that, we'll know that this was successfully or is successfully working. But then before we do move on to the next part, we also need to add one more key piece of metadata. And I'll explain the why and how to do it in a second. So actually, let's just get into that right now. So what I want to do is add a specific, and let me just switch here. So as you can see, dog training disappeared, cat training disappeared. And if I look here to at edit, yep, these were moved right here, which is great. If I go here and refresh, I should get the same, yeah, dog and cat training, awesome, added right here to my vector database and with the embeddings right here. And if we look at the N8 execution history, this should refresh in a second. Awesome. And I think we should get another. Oh, okay, 2 items. So yeah, they were processed together, which is fine. So 9 items were added to our vector. And yeah, that moved the files over to step number 2 right here. So this is working as expected. What I was saying is that what I want to do now is have a way to be able to understand what, like to be fully in control over my file situation. Because what I want is that if I want to delete something by taking the folder or the file from here and moving it to number 3 here, I need a way to know what this file is all about. And if we look here, yes, we have the title, I guess, which is doc training manual, and we have cat training. So I guess that could be one thing that we use. Actually, it might work, yeah, title. Yeah. What I don't like about that is that we could have multiple doc training manuals. So if we have doc training manual 1 and can we have multiple documents with the same name? That's a good question. Let's try that out. Because if we can't, then it's not an issue. But if we can, then it would be an issue, and I will have to do it the way I thought about it. So if I go to edit and I add doc training manual from my hard drive again, what happens? Okay, yeah, I can keep both files. So does that get, yeah, it gets a new name. Fine, okay. But what happens if the system tries to do that, I guess, is my question. So if we go to add, they upload that same file here, and then it moves it itself. Will it overwrite? Will it keep both? I mean, probably we can't have the same file name, so probably it will change the name. I'm also thinking that we would need to have the .pdf as well in order for us to search for that file. Because what I want is a way that if doc training manual is removed from my Google Drive, then we will search for all instances that have this title as metadata, and then we'll be able to delete that. And here we have a PDF. So we'll need to search for title is doc training manual, producer is PDF, or whatever this is here, PDF colon, which might make it a bit more complex. Yeah, I think I'll go with the solution I was thinking about before. But let's see here. So this was moved. If we look at 2, yeah, here we have the same. Yeah, that won't work because we have the same file name. Yeah, that won't work. So let's just delete this, because once I make the change, I'll also need to re-add the files here to see that this is working as expected. So what I'm going to do here is essentially add another step here. And for this, I'm going to use this crypto node. What this will allow us to do is generate an MD5, which is a unique set of letters and numbers that pertains to this specific document and its information. So here, I flipped on the switch called binary, based on binary or based on data. And let me show you what this looks like. So if I execute this at the end, I believe, yeah, will output this data. So it gives us this unique hash, this unique string of letters and numbers. And what I'm going to do is, or essentially what I'm doing is I'm associating this specific code with my doc training manual.pdf, so that if I want to delete it, I can just reference that number rather than the name or the PDF or trying to combine everything together or running to the risk of having multiple files with the same name. So I'm just going to use this data right here and insert it as metadata. So here, I'm going to go to my default data loader. I'm going to add up another property here. I'm going to add a hash. And if I were to grab the data from this, I mean, this should be the JSON.data, I guess. So let's go to default data loader. Let's flip to expression. And let's just put JSON.data. Yep, and this will give us the binary right there. So now, if I save this, if I delete all this, yeah, and I think we got some additional info here. Yep. So let's delete all this. So we return to an empty database. And let's go back to add. And let's add the doc training manual and the cat training. So now once these update into Superbase, each individual chunk should have the same data, the same hashtag, the same, the same hash. So we give this less than a minute, since this is checking every minute, and this should then be moved to folder number 2, and then updated to Superbase with that unique hash, or rather in the opposite order. Uploaded to Superbase and then moved to folder number 2. So let's wait for that. Once that is done, we'll be able to move to part 3, which is building the intelligent agent, where we can search and get answers based on questions. So let's refresh this. Still here. Cool. This is active, so this should happen within the next few seconds. Okay, still hasn't happened. This is running every minute, right? Yep, every minute in the to add folder. Okay, either a minute is very long in this case, or something is not working as expected. So let's go back here. 12:21, this was run. Okay, 2 items, so I think, okay, potentially we have something that's not right in our automation. So let's see here. Did this information get added here first of all? No. Okay. So I think, okay, yeah, this doesn't go here. So there must be something wrong. So let's see here. So the hashtag is that. Okay, hash. Topic is that. Okay, it's fine. Embeddings 3 small, that's fine. That should be fine. And here we're saying move that to that drive. So what is wrong with that? Let's try running this manually. Okay, for some reason we just got the 1 item. All right, let's try adding this once more. Let's confirm we have nothing there and we have nothing there. Fine. Let's add those 2 files. And go back here. Let's run this. Okay. We're just getting the 1 item. File created. This is only picking up doc training manual. So I'm wondering if it's because it's the same name, get training. So what I'm doing here is just changing the name to doc training manual 1 and get training manual 1. So we'll have something different right here. If we go here, let's see. Okay, we have no data, so that's fine. And let's upload these with the new names. So now there's 1 and 1 at the end. Execute. Still pulling 1 item. Huh, interesting. Insert documents. Here we're inserting binary. Okay. Potentially, yeah, we're trying to load all input data. Let's load specific data, which is the yeah, maybe data. We have an overlap in data from Google, which is that, and the data from the crypto output. Yeah, let's change the name of this. Hash binary property name. And let's give this the name hash. So hopefully the data will be the binary data and then the hash will be called actually hash right here. And let's see if that solves it. I still don't know why I'm still getting 1 item only here though, which is a bit weird, but let's try this once more. Delete. Let's execute so we don't get anything. Great. Upload this. And let's run this once more. Still getting 1 item though. So here we have an error. The operation expects the node's input data to contain a binary data, but none was found. Okay, this should be hash now. Fine. Run again. So same error. So here, it might be that this needs to be the node before it. It might be that this is needed. So what happens if we do this? Can we change the order slightly? Sometimes the binary data does act up a bit. So if we do this and we run this, okay. So this doesn't have the data. Yeah, that's good. Okay, what if we It's not ideal, but we re-download the file there. We run this. So we get that. Then we re-download the file. And then we run the vector stuff. Yeah, and that actually worked, which is insane. So this binary data, for some reason, the way the binary data works in an A10, it sort of needs to be the node before the node that references it. So in this case, I was trying to reference it here, but it wasn't the node before it. I believe that was the issue. So we go to Superbase and refresh. Let's see what we have. So here we have the title. Okay, we have the hash right here, which is great. And we have the topic, which is dog. Okay, that's fine. But now my question is, that will move the dog training manual. Okay, let's actually try it with both files once more. So if we go here, clear the information from here, delete 4 rows. And let's close some windows first of all. And let's upload this to Ed. And I mean, yeah, maybe that one is because it's doing it together at the same time. So I don't think this is an issue. So if I look at this here, do we get 2 files? Dog training manual. Or not. Dog, yeah, I don't see a cat. So maybe we have an application. No, I don't see a cat. So yeah, maybe there's an issue. Let's try this. No data with the current filter could be found. Okay, add. And let's run this once more. Okay, so no errors. Okay. Okay, second time we run this, I think this updated the second file. So if we go back here, okay, we have nothing here. We have this here. Okay, so that's fine. Moved the 1 and the 1. And if we look back here and refresh, yeah, I think it all came through there. What I want to check is we got dog training, we got cat training, great. And do we get the hash right here? Yep. 80D7. So this last one should also have the same thing, 80D7. Great. So let's try this one last time. Delete everything. Let's delete everything from here. Let's go back here to that. For clarity, I'm changing to dog training and cat training. So removing the 1 and just refresh here. Fine. Let's add this right here. Okay. And let's let N8N do its thing. So here we should get a bunch of updates, I guess, in a second. And then it should run again on the minute or after a minute because we added the new files. So now it's running 12:30, great. And let's see what that looks like. Okay, perfect. 2 items, 9 items were passed to Superbase. So if we refresh. Yep, great. We have just the 9 items, 3, 3, and 3. We have dog training, we have cat training. And if we look at cat training, the hash is 80D7 and dog training is 0EAB. And that should be the same, 0EAB. So this is working as expected. Now, before we move to the deletion part, let's test out the information retrieved, right? So we go here. Let's tidy up the workflow. So that's one thing. Now we want to be able to chat with our information. So for that, I'm going to go to AI. I'm going to go to trigger. I'm going to go to chat message. And I'm going to connect this to an AI agent. So AI agent, I'm going to give this a chat model, aka a brain. So let's use OpenAI. We are going to use simple memory for now. And we don't need to use any tools. Actually, we do. We need to use the Superbase vector store. connected to YouTube test. That's great. However, this is called documents. We can get as many pieces as needed. So, I mean, we can leave it at 10, for example. And this is the description. So your job is to retrieve information based on a user query. And then we can add the metadata here. So if we wanted, for example, we could only retrieve, or we could only get information about dogs, right? So even if we ask about cats, technically, it would try and get the data from the metadata, which has the title, or what was it? Not title. What did we give it? The topic was equal to dog. So let's just try that as a quick test. So here is going to only get information where the metadata item, which has the name topic, is equal to dog, which is a bit weird, but just to prove the point. One final thing we need to do is add the embedding model, which can be the same as what we have right there, which is the OpenAI. So here, if I say, what are cats? I don't know. Let's see. It would also be interesting. Okay, so here it didn't go back to, or it didn't use its knowledge base. So here, let's just add a system message that says your helpful assistant that always uses the Superbase. What's it called? Let's give this a different name. Data retrieval. That always uses the data retrieval tool to get information back for the user. Let's hit save and let's try again. What are cats? So reset chat session, type in what are cats. And now it went here, and I'm curious what it will do right here. Whether it will use OpenAI's model. Yeah, interesting. So it still used that, right? Yeah. So let's add this add to the system prompt, because it's defaulting to using OpenAI's default information. If no information is found within this tool, output no info found. And again, it's a bit of a, I guess, specific sort of test, but I just want to see, yep, that this is working correctly. So no info found. So now, based on the data we have in our reg database, there's no information about cats, because we said, okay, only get information where the metadata is about dogs. If we were to remove that metadata, then it will decide what information to get. So if I run the same query again, what are cats, I'm now expecting to get information from the cat data information we have stored. And as you can see, now we got that, right? So here it's saying natural instincts, unlike dogs, cats were not bred to work closely with humans. And if we were to look at the original document, so we go to docs.google and we look at cat training. Unlike dogs, cats weren't bred to work closely with humans. So it's almost a carbon copy of that. So that is working as expected. So if we look at here, at the agenda, we can remove that and we can remove that. We can also add memory. So here we have this simple memory, which is fine. However, it is somewhat limited and it's not part of this database right here. So what we want is, in this specific case, to have a database, or rather a table, that contains the user queries added as, or the memory of what the user searched for right here in Superbase. So we can also have a look at everything from within one place. The problem with this right here, this simple memory, is that, I mean, you can see this, but you will have to take extra steps in order to save it if you wanted to. So what we're going to do is use Postgres SQL in order to have a table in our database that will do just what I have mentioned. So what I'm going to do is just remove this simple memory, and instead I'm going to connect to Postgres chat memory. Here we'll need to add a new credential, and if we open the docs here, it will also give you all the information that you will need. So using the database connection, the host, and all that stuff. The information here is a bit, I would say, limited, because it's not mentioning, or it's not referencing Superbase, which we are using in our situation. So in this case, this is what you need to do. So what I'm going to do is go to my Superbase, hit connect right here, give it a second to load, and scroll down right here to session pooler. Actually, it's not session, it's transaction pooler. So this is ideal for stateless applications, like serverless functions where each interaction with Postgres is brief and isolated. So this is what we want. We're going to copy this right here. And if I paste this in here, as you can see, we get some information. So we get the address, we get the space for the password, and we get some other information. Even easier would be to click view parameters. So this information is sort of opened up like this, right? So we get the port on its own line, we get the database name, the user, and the host. So we need to grab the host right here. So copy this, go back to N810, paste that in there. We have the database called Postgres, so this we can leave as is. Here, the user, we copied this and we paste it in here. And this is the password that we set up at the very, very beginning.
When you created your project earlier in the video, so let me
For the password, we need to go back to what we set up at the very beginning. So let me just grab that, paste that in there. And then there's one last thing here, which is the port. So we go back here. This should be 6543. So just paste that in here, hit save, and let's see, connection tested successfully. Awesome. So now we are connected to our Postgres account, and this will be used as the chat memory. If we go back here and refresh our table editor, we should also see nothing yet. Okay, cool. So let's run this once more. So let's start a new session and we say, what are cats? With a spelling mistake in there. So this accessed the memory, great. We got the data and it gave us the answer. If we now look in here and refresh, let's see. Yep, here we got the N810 chat histories, great. So we have the human and the AI as the different types. So here we're saying that the human asked, what are cats, with the spelling mistake I had right there, right? And then we get the whatever this mentioned. So CTS can refer to various things, but it does not. So it didn't really understand my query, obviously, because it was spelled wrongly, right? So we say, I meant cats. So now it has access to the memory, so it will know that I'm sort of adjusting the typo I had here. And it went here, and it went back here. So now it went here. If we go back here and refresh, there's the next set of messages that went through. So I meant cats, and then there's it. So all this is getting saved right there. So this is us having a back and forth chat with the AI agent with the reg database that we had, right? So that is that right there. The last thing I want to do is how to delete the files, right? Which is what I have been alluding to for some time when it comes to this folder situation. So what I want is that when a document is moved from this folder to the delete, the information relating to that in my documents table is actually deleted. So let's just set that up here in N810. So in editor, as you can see now, we have sort of two automations happening, right? We have the inserting data from Google Drive and we have the chatting with the AI agent. What I'm going to do is somewhat similar to this. And when I say somewhat, it's not exactly the same, but we will have a similar trigger. We'll be able to retrieve information. And yeah, let's just get that done. So if we look at what we have here, it will be file created. So this is the same thing. We'll need to download this, great. We'll need to create the hashtag, or the hash rather than the hashtag. Would we need to download it? I don't think so, no. We're not downloading anything, no. And we're just, at the end, deleting the file. Okay, cool. So we need this, so let's copy paste that. We need Superbase. And I believe the operation will be update, get many. Let me remember. Data retrieval. Update, insert, update. It's been some time since I did this. Let me have a quick think about this. All right, so here I went into a bit of a rabbit hole because the thing I wanted to, or the way I wanted to do it, I don't think can actually be done directly. So what I'm trying to do is get the rows where the metadata will contain something that matches the information that we have here in terms of the hash, right? And also thinking about it, instead of hash, I could also save the file ID. So that might have also been a way to do it. But anyway, let's see how to figure this out. So here, I'm going to go to Claude and I'm going to say, let's see, in Superbase, I have this metadata, right? What I want is in NA10 to have an agent that retrieves all the rows that match the hash to the specified hash and then delete them. How would I do this? What I'm also going to give this here is the delete function appears to be this right here. So if I open this up, under resource or under operation, we have the delete function, right? So here we can choose the documents. We can build this manually or put in a string. So this right here. So potentially this would be that. So let's just put in this. Can I use the delete node attached? And if so, how do I build this? So potentially we can search for all the rows that contain the ID or the hashtag we want, and then we use the delete that. But you'll need to modify the configuration to match the hash instead of filtering name equals eq.john. Okay, cool. eq.john is the, I guess, example. Yeah, this right here. So what does that need to be? Hash equals eq.json hash. Okay. Or if you want to specify it that directly, okay. So what happens if we just... Okay, so before we use the delete, let's just try get many rows, where we build a string, and this will be hash equals eq dot and whatever the, let's say, the cat training hash is. So we just select that. And here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cats and 4 dogs. Would we get just only 4 dogs if I run this? Not that. Just want the hash. Copy hash. Nope, that's copying everything. Copy. Okay. Let's go here, hit paste and execute. Column document.hash does not exist. Documents.hash does not exist. Okay, I think we need to somewhat reference the meta information part. Why am I getting this error? Doesn't have a column named hash. No. Yes, it's in metadata. Correct. Need to query metadata. Great. With metadata stored in that. So let's put this in Claude and say this is where the hash is stored. And let's also provide an example of what's in this metadata. And FYI, this is what the metadata looks like. Let's give it that info. Perfect. Okay, so we need metadata, and then there's some sort of, I guess, going through it. For dynamic hash, if coming from that. Okay, so we'll need to use this in a second, but let's just try the hard-coded version right here. So this should go through the metadata, I guess, header column, and then didn't find anything. So hash is equal to that. Okay, why didn't this find anything? So let's go back here. Let's paste that in there. Paste this in here once more, and let's hit paste that. Why did this not find anything? There are no rows in your table. That exact hash value. Isn't that this hash exists as per the below information, which comes from the Superbase actual rows. Let's try a few different approaches. Okay, single quote around the hash. Let's try that. No output data return, nope. Remove the EQ, sometimes not needed. Nope. Use the that instead of that. Feel we're like shooting in the dark here. Nothing. Try with double quotes. No. None of them work. Get all the rows without any filter. Okay, cool. So, no filter, get. Okay, copy. Let's paste this. This is information I got without any filter, so step 1. Okay, you can see the data structure shows that. Okay, let's set up the filter to target one of those hashes. For the delete, use this filter. Okay, so this is saying this is what we need to delete the cat training. Okay, so why did this not work before? So we go to, I mean, should be the same, right? Get or delete, I guess. It's not getting anything here. But is this right? Looks very strange though. So this is not giving me any output. Check the internet for the right notation and format for this. Let's see if it can do a quick search online. It looks very weird though. With this, I don't know, arrow and then greater than. I found the issue. Use this, use that. And it's still doing the same thing there. Okay. So what did we change from before? So this is what I have in what I just pasted now. And this is what I had before. Okay, so there shouldn't be any hash, any quotes around that, I guess. Cool. So let's copy this. Just save that for future reference. And let's zoom out here. So this gave me 5 items, which were the cat items. Great. That's what we said before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I change this to the dog hash, copy, and go back to NA10 and swap that out, I should get 4 items. Perfect. So we're getting those 4 items. So what we want to do is not get many rows, essentially just delete those rows. And that will be based on the crypto hash that we generate. So this will now reference the files in the delete folder. So let's copy this. Let's put in that ID. So this should get nothing at the moment. Great. If we save something here just to get some data, let's upload cat training. And obviously this would be moved from folder 2 to folder 3 rather than re-uploaded, right? So let's try this once more. Okay, got 1 item. Let's download the file. Got 1 item. Great. We just got training PDF. Let's generate a hash. Great. Which is called hash right here, which should match. If I copy this from the bottom here and I open up my Superbase, it should match the cat stuff. Awesome. Because it is the same PDF. And now, if I connect this to delete, can I delete multiple rows? Huh. Interesting. I don't know. Here we're getting many rows. Will this delete multiple rows or just one row? If we paste that in there, let's replace the number with the actual variable hash, which should be at the end of crypto. Hash right here. Remove the space, and we execute. Yeah, we deleted 5 items. Awesome. So now, if I refresh, I should only get these 4 items. Perfect. So now we just have the doc stuff. Awesome. So this is now working as expected without needing to get many. So now, if we were to organize this a bit, we have the delete, deleting files. Then we have the, let's call this retrieving information, not to give, retrieving information. And then we have the adding information. So we have those 3 steps right there. Can I tidy this up? Not really. Undo. Cool. So now, obviously I don't have the cat training information here. So one thing we might want to do, I know what will happen if I try to, it's a good test to do. If I try and upload cat training right here, obviously those files don't exist. So if we look at the deletion of the files, this will not find anything right here. So I'm curious, once this tries to delete those files, what actually happens? So let's see, once this runs in a second, what will happen? All right, so I had to stop the recording and then now come back to it. So I'm trying to figure out what happened here. So here, okay, we got the file created in the folder, which is the delete folder. So just to confirm, this is a folder with the ID 1qt. So here, that's fine. Okay, we download the file, we crypto that, and we delete a row. So over here, for some reason though, it deleted, okay, 5 items. So if we go back to Superbase and sign in once more, so go to dashboard, go to that, go to table editor. Let's look at the documents, and now we have the dog items there. Okay, don't really recall what we were doing. Quite. Okay, so cat training is there. I think I was testing to see what happens if I run into an issue. So I think, did I run into any issues? Yeah, I was trying to see if I try to download something that doesn't exist. Yeah, so let's try cat training once more. And let's see what happens. So if I upload cat training here, and I go back here, this should check every minute. 1qt is the delete folder, so that's fine. So this should, great. So now it knows that a file was updated. And here, nothing actually happened, I guess. No output was returned. Okay, so that's fine. No errors are thrown if there's no file or rows to delete. What we can also do, I guess, is delete the file from here as well, to just have a come full circle. So in Google Drive, what we can do is just download the file. Just delete a file. The ID will be the Google Drive ID. Download file. So that will be the Google Drive trigger ID of the file. So let's just drag and drop that right there. So now if we save this, delete this from here, we go here. Let's refresh this here just to ensure it's just dogs. Fine. And let's duplicate this right here. So if we go to edit, not to add, go to edit, can we, I can't move it directly. So what I want to do, I don't know if I can do this actually, just copy this. No, pretty sure there's a way to move this somewhere. Share, organize file, move to trash. Really, is there no way to move? Rename, make a copy. Yeah, I guess one way we could do it. Yeah, let's just make this a bit easier on us. So instead of outside right here, let's put the delete right there. So it's inside. And now we still have the one Qt. So that should be fine. It makes it a bit easier though to just grab this and drag and drop it in there. So now it's in the delete folder. So if I look at my N8N automation, let's see if this will detect that we got a new file added in there. And if it will run the deleting files automation part right here. So then once it's in here, it should also delete it from here as well. Okay, sweet. That got deleted from there. This should update an execution in a second, I guess. 14.13.03. So I think we should get an update in a second right here. Auto refresh. Let's reload this just in case. This is saying 14.13 for some reason. If we look into Superbase, did the records get deleted? No. Okay, why is that? So it got deleted from here. Huh. So let's see, 2, 3. Okay, so this is still in here. So why is this? Okay, didn't quite run then. Let's just update this. Maybe that ID changes because here we didn't get any executions at all. So let's go here. Let's update that, which looks to be the same for me, to be fair. Okay, we got one item. We're downloading that. We're deleting that. I mean, I think it should be pretty much the same. And then we delete the file from the Google Drive trigger. So my question is, if we... Let's download this and let's re-edit to added. And let's just delete it from here for now. So we go here. So once it's here, nothing technically happens, right? Because it's just a file that would have been moved here by the automation from here to here. But now what we want to do is, number one, ensure that nothing... Okay, we had something that ran here. What was that? Okay, let's try this once more. So what I'm doing is moving that there. This is there. So this should trigger the N8N automation because we created a file in this delete folder. This is still here. And so far I would think this is still here. Okay, cool. This hasn't run yet. Okay, it ran now. That's what happened. Okay, cool. I think that worked because it went all the way through. So if we look here and refresh, there's nothing here. Awesome. And if we refresh, there should be nothing here as well. Perfect. Awesome. So that is working as expected. Perfect. So that is part 5 where we learn how to delete files as well. Awesome. So I hope this was useful. It was a bit of a longer video on this channel. Hope you found it useful. If you did, hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss future videos. And in the meantime, let me know what you think about that. Let me know what kind of stuff you're interested in so I can create content that is of value to you. I hope you have a great day and I'll speak to you soon.